wait for a few of you to come in. Much cooler day here, autumn Melbourne day. Very still, very lovely. Sitting on one of my favourite balconies in my house, overlooking the river, to come and have a conversation with you. So I'll just wait for some people to come in. Let me know how you're doing, where you're from in the world. And as always, I've got my cup of tea, so go and get a cup of something lovely to sit down and join me in this conversation today. Okay, we've got some people coming in. Let me know that you can hear and see me okay, guys. All right. As always, I'm looking forward to having the conversation. Samina, hello. How you going? Lovely to see you. Lovely, lovely to see you. So, this is an important conversation today, and the reason, hello, Purple Queen, I love your name. And Psychic Francis, I love your name as well. Hey, New York City, we've got Tennessee in the house. Beautiful to see you. Snow Queen, we often see you here. Lovely to see you. Helena. Oh, yeah, Faye. Always lovely to see you, sweetheart from Tassie. Beautiful. All right. So today, the reason why I want to have this conversation with you is I've been doing quite a few lives. Kent, lovely to see you as always. Thank you. Yeah. The reason is because I've been doing some lives lately, and this question has popped up a lot. So I really wanted to address it and let you know my take on it and give you a deeper understanding around this, because it can be such a barrier to healing. And it very much is all about the old paradigm that has kept us very, very, very stuck in our mind. Because if we're looking at, okay, well, I need to heal, I want to get free from my traumas, and I want to get free from my programs that are keeping me stuck in realities that I just don't want to live with, we really can logically, understandably think, well, I'm going to have to go back into my childhood and my wounds, and I'm going to have to work them out and realize that, you know, this event caused me to have this trauma and this limiting belief, and that's what's hooked me up with people that match that, and so on and so forth. And it's kind of exhausting. Well, not just thinking about that, it's daunting, because you think, oh my God, I'm going to have to rehash, and I'm going to have to go in there, and I'm going to have to work it out. And I'm going to have to understand why I'm like the way I am to change the way I am. Now, that's the bad news when you think about it in that way, and when you literally believe that that's the way that you need to heal. And I promise you, I used to think that too. And I had a life career from quite an early age, in my 20s, when I was into personal development and taking responsibility and spiritual growth and understanding. I really was fully invested in investigating my childhood, trying to work out my traumas, trying to be different, trying to change my programs, because I did understand, even from a very young age, that if I wanted to change my life, I needed to change myself. I got that piece in it. Thank you, Cuba. That's lovely of you to say that. So I went on that search. I went on that trip. I saw a lot of psychologists. I went and did a lot of, rebirthing and inner child work, and lots of workshops and seminars and books, and I really was not lazy at all in trying to work out my childhood and my patterns to change my life. And then, of course, I met when I was 35, who I thought was the love of my life in an intimate relationship sense. And I thought, this is the beautiful reward I get for having done all of that inner work and have all of this understanding. And now I have the perfect partner. And of course, he turned out to be the narcissist who, started this journey because he broke me completely. And I found the way to put myself back together the right way. What I've discovered since then is 100% no. Here's the really, really good news. You do not have to work out logically from an understanding point of view what your trauma is, who put it there, how old you were, what it's done to you, and try to understand it, to process it to completion, to heal it. That's actually a completely and utterly false premise. That's really good news when you understand this, because no longer is healing this long, drawn out, arduous, conceptual, logical journey of trying to understand to get an inner stand. And it's really interesting, the concept of understand, because it means to stand under, which means you're not actually in your authentic power. You are standing under who you really are. Whereas what we really want is inner stand. Now, those of you who joined me yesterday on my Facebook page, Melanie Tonya Evans Facebook page, we had a really big discussion about the fish and the fish tank. And I've been talking about it on Instagram, and I think I did it here as well, about how our true healing is about cleaning our terrain. It's about picking up and releasing our trauma, our dense toxic energy, and filling with the light of true source, which you can call our higher power, our superconscious, creation, God, the universe, call it Bob if you like. But it's the unseen life force that runs through everything. So when our trauma leaves us, which is anti-life, which is dissolution, not evolution, it's disintegration, not integration. When we clean that out and we bring that higher power, whatever your version of a higher power is, it could be a deity, it could be religious, that is beautiful and fine. When you bring that in to replace that trauma, you reset back to health and well-being. And what does health and well-being mean? And I promise you, I can speak from experience because I live this, as do thousands of other people in this community who work with quantum freedom healing. What does it mean? What it means is that reset is, first of all, emotionally you get well. Where there was anxiety, fear, trepidation, confusion, feelings of powerlessness and helplessness, resentment, anger, betrayal, feeling unlovable, unworthy, alone. All of those traumas, they're all trauma feelings. When they get loaded up and released, which is what quantum freedom healing does, unconditionally, it doesn't, quantum freedom healing as an energetic modality doesn't care who put it there, what it was about. Doesn't care about the logical details. It cares about the dense energy in your body and the impacted belief systems and chemical processes that are going in on your cells in regard to the trauma. Quantum freedom healing cares about the feeling of it. And the feeling of it is all you need to connect to be able to load it up and all the material that goes with it, to let it go out of your being, to make space to bring the light in. And in that light, which is in the visualization in quantum freedom healing, is your higher power, which is well-being emotionally. So when you do the shift, the first thing that you experience is you feel more whole and at peace and calm. And then what you experience is your mind is no longer thinking about what's derailing you, such as that person you're still obsessing about, those feelings that you're always going to be alone, that you're never going to make it, the fears of not being loved, the fears of not being approved of, the fears of not being able to generate your security and your survival. When your inner being gets filled with a feeling of solidness and wholeness and peace, independent of what's going on out there, independent, the feeling must precede the shift in your life. It's not the other way around. And we thought it was. We were trying to change our outer life to change our feeling. And that's the false premise. That's the big lie. That's not how you create. You create by filling with light, changing how you feel, then your life can reflect that. So when you do quantum freedom healing, it literally is as simple as Cuba is saying it's impossible to understand the trauma anyway. It's exhausting. 100%. And this has been the problem. We go to therapy like I used to. We read books, we research, and what happens is when we're trying to understand what's going on in our traumatic, in our somatic, emotional feeling being, we're running around the block 30 times to try to cross the road. I want to prove it to you in a really simple way. Your logical brain, the logic, the research, the learning and talking and trying to work out where it came from, your logical mind does not even connect to your somatic being. It would literally be like trying to fix your TV while you're working on your radio. They're two completely different mechanisms. You need to understand this. Yes, they connect because your brain will follow your body. Your brain is thinking in the bandwidth of your inner being and can't actually escape that. It's like if you fix the TV, let's just say the radio followed that channel automatically, but you cannot tinker with the radio to fix the TV. It's like, imagine yourself as a car engine. And the bonnet, is that what you call it in other countries? We call it that in Australia, which is like like you've got the boot, which is the trunk. I think it's the hood, the bonnet, right? The front of the car, which closes over the engine. It would be like with your car, you've got the bonnet, the hood closed. Yeah, it's a hood. Okay, thank you, Kent, for giving me that clarification. Now let's imagine that, the engine's screaming and it's making these horrible noises and there's something really wrong with the engine. But if you kept that bonnet, that hood closed, and you stood beside the car and you said, well, I think it's this, and I think it's that, and I think it's this. If you don't open the bonnet, the hood, and get into the engine, you're not going to fix the problem. Is this making sense? This is the problem when we're in our from here up. Okay? Here up is not where your healing takes place. Right? This is so important to understand. And even when we're doing quantum freedom healing, this is for you NARPers and you people that are working with quantum freedom healing. If you're still trying to work out where your trauma is coming from, you're not getting yourself out of the way for quantum freedom healing to work. In fact, the less thinking you do, the more it is working inside of you. This is the huge problem with therapy and why it's not working. And let me just explain it to you like this. If I was to say to you, I feel traumatized, I feel angry, I feel betrayed, I feel whatever a negative emotion is, it makes sense, right? It connects. I feel. It's in my body. If I say to you from here up, I think traumatized, I think rejected, I think abused, it's caveman speak. It doesn't even connect. Because my trauma's not going on here. It's in, I feel, it's in my body. So when we're trying to think our way out of our trauma by learning and researching and discovering, we're never actually healing it. We're just trying to manage it. And that in itself is a self-defeating prophecy because neuroscientists now know that your brain is thinking in the frequency of your trauma. So it doesn't matter how hard you try to think your way out of it, your thinking is going to default back to it. Okay? Now, when I first discovered quantum freedom healing, I was still in the paradigm of, I need to know where it comes from. Okay, so I discovered through my psychotic breakdown, which is the first time I actually really saw the truth about how life is working. And I really do believe sometimes you've got to be out of your brain to actually see the truth. Because our brain makes up a lot of stories. And our brain has layers and layers and layers of false programming. And our brain is our ego. It loves us to stay stuck in the pain because it then separates us from our true divinity, which is to be a source, soul, self, as heaven on earth with source sourcing through us as us. That's actually what we were born to be. But we've been disconnected from that and kept in our brain. Because when we're in our brain, we are a product of society. We need ongoing psychology, pills, drugs for the rest of our lives to try to manage our unhealed inner trauma. And of course, we buy alcohol and junk food and drugs, and we watch Netflix, and we do all sorts of things to try to numb out the inner pain, which is very helpful for a consumerist society where certain people make a lot of profit. That's the truth. So how do we bypass this whole situation where our brain isn't even connecting with the truth? By lifting up our bonnet, our hood, and getting into the body. And what is so interesting about the subconscious, which I discovered, thank goodness, because at the start of Quantum Freedom Healing, I was definitely fully in the feeling of it, and I knew how to load up with the quantum, uh, with the quantum intentions and things that I was accessing, and it was absolutely working. But I was still a little wrapped up in, I need to know where it comes from, because I guess that was the last bit of my mind and my ego hanging on, trying to control things, saying, I need to understand it. I need to know. I need to protect myself in the future by knowing what happened to me and how it happened and why it happened and, all that stuff we do with obsession. And what happened was I did have a few, brick walls in my recovery, things that were just not quite clearing for me, or I was still stuck on and obsessing about, and I couldn't get to the bottom of it. It's like, what's that real reason underneath? Even though I'm meditating, I'm feeling in my body, I'm loading up the pain body, my childhood trauma, I'm loading up my past life trauma, I'm loading up the generational trauma, I'm loading up the interdimensional trauma, but I still feel like I'm trying to understand it. And there were some things that weren't quite shifting. I wasn't getting to the bottom of it. And then I realized, it came to me that it's actually not even necessary for me to know how, why, or who. All that was necessary for me to do was to say, I'm targeting the trauma in my body generating this. Now, this could be this feeling of betrayal that won't shift, this feeling of fear of finances, this even just, waking up some mornings and just having this feeling of dread that is like just a heavy, yucky. And of course, sometimes it'd be a feeling of shame. I'd be talking to somebody and they'd say something and I think, am I really a bad person? And just all of these numerous feelings that we can have that are just nasty. And then I realized whatever was showing up right now was the most powerful, painful emotion. All I had to do was just follow the quantum freedom healing process, not think at all, just feel it in my body and say, okay, well, oh, that's in my heart and it feels really heavy, or like an anxiety, or my throat feels constricted. And I used to get like a lot of between my shoulder blades, like a burning, like there was like a heat lamp on it, or lower back pain. Sometimes it would even be in my achy knees that I'd say, I'm going to target the trauma in my body generating this feeling right now. And then somewhere in my body would light up. And I just learnt to trust and to go to it and follow the quantum freedom healing process and just open my body and breathe and load it up, keep my head out of the way and just load and load and load and load. And then I would let it go and I'd see the big black blobs leaving out through the top of my head. And then I would do all the integrations in quantum freedom healing, which is 3 different parts of the subconscious, to clear out the trauma from those areas and my inner child and my other dimensional selves that showed up for the healing, and fill everybody and everything with light and integrate it back to the light and clean the shadows and keep filling with light, which is the process. All you have to do is follow the instructions. And then what I would find is that feeling was gone. Now, here's the deal. I didn't know logically whether that came from my grandmother, my grandfather, my 3 past lives where I was murdered, um, my mum and her generations that could never survive without a man. I didn't know. I just removed all of that toxic data from my being. I filled with light. The feeling went, and those feelings, those thoughts that I was having about powerlessness or helplessness or fear or shame or resentment or unresolved issues, they just washed away. Along for the ride, I'm going to get to your question in a sec. And what I would do, I'm going to show you, right? It actually wasn't on this track, but see this beautiful walking track? Yeah. So what I was doing when I kind of really got this piece, I was around the Frankston area in Melbourne, and there's a beautiful creek, Cannonal Creek. And what I would do is I would put my headphones on with the modules, and I would just walk for an hour and a half while I was walking, and I would be doing the shifts in my being, because when you get good at it, you can actually do it while you walk. You can actually be in theta brainwave and walking in nature and just loading up and letting it go and bringing in the light. And I did that every morning for months. And what happened was my healing just exploded into expansion. What I discovered was, rather than all of that old paradigm of, I have to research boundaries, I have to learn how to do them, I have to find out this, I have to find out this. What I started to realize was, we already are what we seek. We already have the most amazing inner resources and potential and knowing and wisdom and power. We just have it. And this is pretty exceptional for me to say this, because in my previous life, I was a relationship disaster. And I'm saying that with full love for myself, because I wasn't better and I couldn't do better. So even though I'm a smart girl and I was highly motivated, I had learnt probably more about personal development than most people would in 4 lifetimes, because I was so dedicated to getting it right. But what would happen, even though conceptually I knew what I should be doing, when I was triggered into deep unresolved wounds, all of that would go out the window, and I would be back in my powerlessness and my helplessness and doing all the things that were not helping my cause. You know, handing my power away, not holding boundaries, not feeling whole and safe and secure enough to walk away. And this is where, you know, we make excuses. When I had all my unresolved inner trauma, you know, I'd have girlfriends in my life that would be looking at how my life was going, who couldn't, you know, get it. And I'd be like making excuses to them to stay with the narcissist. And as I'm hearing myself, I'm like, I'm really trying to convince myself of this BS, because I was stuck in the old trauma programs. So now what I'm saying to you today about, you don't need to understand anything. You actually don't. You need to fill with the light and become inner standing. And that frees you from the whole brain prison where you've thought you're thinking your way out of your trauma, whereas you're actually just cementing yourself into it deeper. I really want you to get that piece. Now, the stumbling block to this is layers of programming for a start, because we've been told and taught and indoctrinated into believing that our mind is the master, and it's not. Our mind is a beautiful tool when it's working in the bandwidth of a healthy inner being. Okay? And your mind is what your ego loves to control. And we all have to really accept the truth that we have an inner narcissist. We all are made of dark and light. And we have an inner narcissist, which is the pain body. Eckhart Tolle wrote about it. And the pain body wants you to be in stinking thinking. Because when we're in stinking thinking, somebody's traumatized you and they've done a horrible act of betrayal. They shot you with a bullet and it wedged in your being. And then you trying to think your way out of it is going to make you reshoot yourself with the same bullet 1,000 times. And your pain body loves this, because the internal narcissist is a dark energy that feeds off your pain. And it makes you sicker. And the internal narcissist is a parasite. It's like the external narcissist, where they suck the host dry and eventually destroy themselves, because they suck everything dry around them and they have no life force of their own. So your internal narcissist is sucking your life force. So when we're in our mind trying to fix our trauma, we're never actually releasing and healing the trauma. And then what happens is the ego gets a greater hold and more power over you, and will actually tell you that what I'm saying is rubbish and it's not possible for you and you're too defective to heal, and what's the point anyway? And I'm just going to keep doing my research of narcissists, and I'm going to keep complaining to my friends about what he or she did, and I'm going to join that PTSD group that are going to tell me that I'm damaged for life and I just need to do more walking or eat better. It's going to do everything it can to stop you turning within, to let go of its food, which is your internal trauma. And we're terrified to do this because it literally feels like a death. And I promise you, my ego used to eat me alive. I was so in my head. My friends, even before narcissistic abuse, used to call me the obsessive queen. It was always like I had 5 people in my head having a conversation the whole time. I was the person, dot the I's, cross the T's. Oh my God, I was like always obsessing. Is this done? Is that done? Is this done? Is that done? I need to look at this. I need to look at that. I can't unwind. I used to actually drink a lot to try and shut my head up. That's why I was an alcoholic when I was younger. Okay? And I still worked hard and I still functioned. But the only time my head would shut up was when I'd had a few drinks. All right? And what I discovered is when finally I got it, Less thinking, more shifting, and just feel the energy in my body and just follow the visualization and stop trying to get logical information. Just see and feel what the instructions are in the healing, in Corner Freedom Healing, and just do that. Sometimes my ego dug in so hard, was like, if you let this go, you're going to die. If you let this go, you're going to be unintelligent. If you let this go, you won't be powerful. Like all the excuses that the ego gives us to try and sabotage us and hold on. And I knew the game. And I just kept breathing in and opening up and just kept ignoring that voice in my head and just thought, you know what, ego? I am going to get the trauma out that is feeding you and giving you power, and I'm going to starve you. And my whole thing was, I said to my ego, you've killed me anyway. Like, you are killing me and you nearly killed me. So if I have to die to beat you, so be it. Because you're not getting my soul anymore. I would rather die with my soul than let you destroy my life any longer. And I stood up to it with everything that I had, which was, I'm just going to breathe, open my body, ignore your excuses, and I'm just going to get this trauma out of my body. And then what I discovered is my ego dissolved. It just got less and less and less. How did I know that? Like, what are the real life results? There's tons of them, actually. The real life results were the obsession stopped, the nasty thoughts about others and myself stopped. A wisdom arose within me, a bigger picture, wider, deeper wisdom, a much more powerful acceptance of everything that was very empowering. And what happened was beautiful people, situations, and events started coming into my life that matched my soul self, which matched the light, genuineness, kindness, love, true support without agenda, opportunities, synchronicities, and even miracles. And then I knew the truth, that the ego and the mind had been a saboteur, keeping me separated from my true self. And the mind and the ego had been trying to convince me, if you let go of this trauma, you're not going to be safe. If you let go of this trauma, how are you going to protect yourself? And yet life is the complete and utter opposite. I want you to think about this truth, because it's really huge. Let's say your car starts sliding off the road. Now, if you go into fight, flees, or free, if you go into terror, you are so likely to steer straight into a tree. However, if you're not triggered, it's like this calm presence steps in and you know what to do. That's God guiding through you. That's your higher power. That's not your ego. Let's say when you're in an argument with a narcissistic individual, if they trigger you into a child wound of, I'm about to be abandoned, you are going to hand over your power, regress back into your 3-year-old wound, which is what I used to do. Narcissists knew in my life they could pull the abandonment card and I would be crying, hyperventilating, hanging on to their legs while they were walking out the door, begging them not to leave me, handing over more of my rights so I wouldn't be abandoned. That's what I used to do. Why was I doing that? Because I had traumas deep survival traumas on abandonment. And when they left me, when I got them out of my body and replaced them with the light, what came in is my source soul self, which is my true self without trauma, which is source is my source. Source is my source. I'm whole, I'm safe, I'm flourished, I'm nourished. And then what happened, which was awesome, was somebody in my life tried to pull the abandonment card, and I just looked at them and I said, okay, good. There's the door. No trigger. Yeah, it was disappointing. Yes, it was, sad. But there was this step in for myself that was like, okay, we're just not meant to be together. And I don't need you because I already have my source soul self. So our mind says, hang on to the trauma, because you need it. It's a lie. It's a total lie. When we hang on to the trauma, we keep sliding off the road and hitting the tree. When we let go of the trauma, we steer around the tree. We actually stay on the road. Is this making sense? Let me know. For some reason, I cannot see the chat. I don't know whether we've stopped or I'm still here with you. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, good. You're here. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. So somebody asked before, because I have a healing boot camp coming up, which is a 10-week program. It's called Thrive, which is melanietoniaevans.com/thrive. Now, those of you who know my work, and if you're new to my work, please remember to subscribe and get notifications on this channel, okay? So we can have these talks and material all the time to help you. Because I do a ton of free resources every day. Facebook, Instagram, here, okay? The reason why my programs are called Thrive, or the Thriver community, is because I don't believe in mere survival, which is mere survival is the trauma's still stuck in my body. I've been able to leave a narcissist, but I've got generated from my unhealed trauma, PTSD, agoraphobia, diminished trust in myself, life, and others, anxiety, depression, adrenal malfunctions. I don't go for that at all, because we don't have to put up with that. We do, and we will put up with that if the trauma stays stuck in your body. And a lot of you kind of know that, like, I need to heal. You know you need to heal. Okay, you're aware and awake enough. You're not dumb people. You're here. You know you need to heal. And so many people have been trying to heal from here up, and it doesn't work. Does fasting help detox our thoughts? Great question, Yana. Things like fasting, good diet, detoxifying, which fasting does, yoga, they're supplements, but they are not removing the trauma out of your body. You have to do that with an energetic healing modality. Bottom line. So this is where, some people find EMDR or EFT, kinesiology, theta healing, etc. And all of that is so much better than cognitive therapy. So much better, worlds apart, because you're working in your body. Humbly, what we found in this community and what I found is even in those healing modalities, for deep-seated intense trauma, which narcissistic abuse is, studies have found interpersonal relationship abuse can actually affect people worse than the trauma from war-torn countries. Because you don't just have survival and security, you have love, approval, survival and security foundations within your inner identity threatened. You have all of it threatened. The trauma is worse than being in a natural disaster or a war. Okay, research has shown that. And what I found personally with EMDR, EFT, kinesiology, body code, the list could go on and on and on and on and on, is it was missing a component. And the component it missed, a few components, but primarily there was not enough in regard to source. And it also too didn't clean out all the compartments in the subconscious that need to be released of trauma. Because if we don't clean up the past lives, if we don't clean up the generational trauma, if we don't clean up the interdimensional, multidimensional trauma, then what happens is the trauma would reinstate itself, and then you have to keep coming back to the process to keep on top of it. Whereas with quantum freedom healing, once you've cleaned it up, it's done. It's done. You evolve to the next level of your evolution. So that's why, yes, the trauma is engraved in our DNA, Yana. Absolutely. Quantum freedom healing gets it out of your DNA. Literally. And that's why myself and so many others, including some of my team, some of the MTE specialist team, some of them were given end-of-life plans. Their breakdowns were so severe. Just like I was told I would never recover and need 3 antipsychotics for the rest of my life. And we have people in our community, 70s and 80s, who lost everything as a result of narcissistic abuse, who are now living their best life. Because when your source soul connection ignites, your best life happens no matter what gender you are, what race, what age. Source is unconditional. There's no such thing as statistics with source. And again, that's just a product of here. It's not a product of your being. Your being is ageless. Your being is unlimited. So, somebody was asking before, I'm sorry, I forgot who it was asking, what's the difference between Thrive and NARP? I'm going to put it to you really simply. Let's imagine that you join a gym and you do, you get really great instructions about what your diet should be and what your program needs to be and what your goals are, and you awesome, amazing instructions. And you even have your workouts laid out for you, and you go take yourself to gym in your own time and you apply it with great online support. Let's say you have that as well. Okay. That's what NARP is. It's a program that is amazing that you do in your own time at your own pace. Now, let's say you're at the gym and there's a sign up that says, lose 15 kilos in 10 weeks or get your amazing body in 10 weeks. We've got a gym boot camp coming up. That's Thrive. Because what Thrive means is in these 10 weeks that start on the 3rd of April, all you have to do is turn up and you're going to lose decades of trauma in 10 weeks. You just have to show up with myself, my incredible team, your Thriver tribe, which is people from all over the world. We have people from 130 different countries get involved. That's our global reach. and you show up in an amazing group, and we do cap it at a number so that we can do incredible support, and together we do incredible, powerful quantum freedom healings. And when they're group healings, the power and the things that you're going to shed and let go of, and the light that is going to fill you, will stun you, thrill you, and accelerate you into your true self and your true life. So the kind of things that happen in Thrive, we've had people in Thrive groups that have been 20 years in legal battle. They get their payment. The narcissist capitulates. We get people in Thrive that their children have been alienated for years. Their children make contact. We've had people who are struggling with no contact, and they've been years in off and on with the narcissist. They break free, the obsession stops, and they're like, what was I even thinking? We have people in Thrive who get amazing job offers, who start their own businesses, who break free from toxic relationships with their families, that are able to create boundaries with people in their life that have been stealing their energy and their heart space. Massive things happen within the 10 weeks. Okay. And the reason is because their inner being changes. And what's so powerful about the quantum world, which I learned on this journey, I had no idea. I just thought I was saving myself from the trauma that was eating me alive. I had no idea what was going to happen in my life. What I learned and what happened and what I see happen with everybody who does this is when we get better, we do better. We think better, we eat better, we choose better, we live better. We're no longer needy and empty. We no longer hand our power away. We're no longer scared. We're no longer scared to be ourselves. And what is also so phenomenal is the inner world, our inner universe, is intrinsically connected to our outer universe. Chloe, I'm just looking. I'm going to go back to your question, Chloe. It's gone, but I'll go back to it. I'll find it. Our inner universe is connected to our outer universe. So when we're stuck in trauma, the things that are coming into our hologram, our energetic, emotional, somatic, universally connected experience, are things that match the trauma. When the trauma's gone, we lift up into a trajectory of life that then matches our new and true inner being. We have access to things we didn't have access to before. All right, now everybody is saying Chloe's question. I'm going to have a look. Is there a reason that some people who've experienced narc abuse go on to have very loving partners and seem to be thinking without having done deep inner work? I wonder why I have to work so hard. Chloe, that is such a great question. And there is a reason. Okay, now, well, there's kind of, I want to unpack that for you. I actually do believe, Chloe, that sometimes there are angels that come in on people's journeys to help rescue them. However, well, first of all, that's kind of hit and miss. But there's a couple of things that go with that because I have seen it. And often what will happen is these people with lovely partners still feel kind of dependent and helpless in their own life. They still feel like they rely on somebody. They don't have that true independence and power to really shine off their own steam. And also too, because they're not healed. And also too, they can be really hard on the new partners. They can have their suspicions and have their triggers. And I can't tell you, Chloe, how many people have come forward in this community over the last 15 years, and they've said, I have a beautiful guy or girl in my life now, and I know I'm sabotaging it. I know I'm questioning them. I know I'm triggered. And there are even at times when these partners, these good guys or girls that turn up as beautiful partners, some of them are codependents and they put up with abuse from the victimized, traumatized, unhealed person who is making them jump through hoops all the time so they can feel safe. And it doesn't mean they're a bad person or a narcissist, it means they're unhealed. But sometimes these partners will say to them, you need to go heal. I can't do this anymore. I cannot deal with it. And people have come forward and done the NARP, the deep inner healing, quantum freedom healing, to be able to stop sabotaging. Does that make sense? We see that a lot. Okay. And I know, I used to be that woman that I was like capable and successful with everything I did. Yet I actually felt like a broken little girl wanting a parent to come in and give me love and approval and security and keep me safe. And if we don't heal, we're kind of seeking a parent rather than an equal partner that we can enjoy life with. And what I love about my love relationship is I have a man who's totally in his power, very secure. We're very secure with each other. I can let him shine. He lets me shine. We support each other. I don't have a down day and get all needy and clingy, and he doesn't do the same thing. Because we're partners. We're not trying to be parents to each other. Does that make sense? And when I used to be that needy little girl wanting, somebody, I had some beautiful boyfriends when I was like younger before the narcissist. And honestly, no matter what they did, I still didn't feel safe. I would still play games. Like I wasn't a narcissist, but I was definitely a codependent manipulating. And it wasn't healthy for them and it wasn't healthy for me. Yeah, okay. I hope that makes sense. So, and look, the bottom line is with all of us, we don't know what life's going to bring. Like, heaven forbid, and take it out of the equation. But, anybody's partner could be hit by a bus tomorrow. We don't know. And if we need to be rescued, how are we going to cope? How are we going to live on? Unless I was having a beautiful talk with my girlfriend last week, and she's struggling she needs to heal. We all need to heal. And she was saying to me, with things in the way they are, and, Australia's in a mess at the moment. And she goes, it's really great you've got this guy. And I said, if he wasn't right for me, if we weren't aligned, and if he was abusive, source is my source. It doesn't matter what's going on out there. I would not have him in my life. And the reason why I have such a great, solid, supportive, protective, amazing guy who's so right for this time is because I'm prepared to be that for myself. Like, whoever we're being, more of that shows up. So that's why the inner work and getting the trauma out is so important. I really hope that makes sense. But, I promise I used to think that too. I used to look at people in my life and I used to think, but you don't have to do the work I have to do. You don't have to heal yourself. You just get a great relationship. And, why do I have to do so much work on myself? But I promise you, standing on this side of it all, like even those people, I look at their life and I think, oh God, mine is so much better. I wish you had what I've got. Because I'm being it. That's why I've got it. All right. Yeah, some people do seem to have easier lives. Like lots of people. But you know what? When you understand the deeper, wider truths, none of this has been a mistake. Like as a soul, we chose all of this. We wanted I used to like scream to Source, why are you doing this to me? Why can't I just be normal? Why can't I just, please just let me just have a husband and kids and a sheepdog and friends and a happy life and a great family? Just please, please. But you know what now? After going through all of this, I so know that this is what I wanted. I wanted all of it. I wanted the experience of being brought to my knees to find my soul source connection, to be and do and have and experience what I'm doing and having and experiencing. It was all perfect. My greatest wounds were my greatest salvation, because I wouldn't have had to have filled with the light if I was just living my life. And I promise you, now I look back, I would have been bored shitless with that life. It's actually not what I wanted. I thought it was, but it wasn't. So I promise you, what you have got coming up as a result of turning within and losing your soul, losing your trauma and filling with your soul source connection, everything you want is in that light. Everything. Everything. And that's actually all you have to do for it to start unfolding. I had no idea I was going to do this as a job. I had no idea I was going to end up where I am. I had no idea. And do you know what? I still have no idea where I'm ending up. All I do is let go of what hurts and bring in the light, and then just show up in my life with energy. That's all I do. And everything else just flows. What a change from trying to micromanage my life mentally to every detail. My God, it was exhausting. Yes, we didn't realize we were traumatized. Exactly. Exactly. We thought it was normal to have the human experience we were having. We were programmed into thinking, well, this is just the way it is. And it's not. It doesn't have to be. I used to think my life before abuse, I didn't have a bad childhood. Yeah, they were busy and absent emotionally, but, we had the roof over our table. My parents backed me in sports and horses, and, in many ways, they were great parents. But I used to think that, the beliefs that life is hard and you have to work hard and you have to get approval and, normal anxiety and depression and, being in my head and obsessing and always stressed and busy. And I used to think all of that was, and I thought it was normal. It's not normal. It actually is the human normal, but it's not natural. It's not natural. And whoever was just saying, it resonates with you about approval. That's one of the biggies about how we get hooked into narcissistic abuse. But when you have your source soul connection sorted and you're filled with light, I promise you, sweethearts, you have every approval you need. The light is approval. Then there's no more to explain and justify. It's just like, okay, well, if you don't get my values and my truth, that's okay. That's your life. This is mine. It's like when we get our own love and approval through source and soul connection, you don't actually have to try to love yourself anymore. You just are. It just is. And there's no more of trying to convince or change anybody to join you in your life. It's just like, come and play with me if you're a match for my values and truth. And it comes easily. And that's command, not demand. Demand is that empty, whiny, needy, lecturing, prescribing, trying to fix broken people, trying to change them and sort them out to give us love, approval, survival, and security. When you are that, you're like, okay, well, if you have great values and you're a good person, you have to be perfect, but come and play with me. That's command. Such a difference. So I just hope, because what I try to do in all of my talks to you is I try to bypass this, because I know this has layers and layers of false programming. I try to talk to the cells in your body. I try to talk to your being, to your truth. And I want to lead you to your truth. I want to unlock you to be your truth. And it all happens from letting go of your trauma and filling with the light, which is exactly what quantum freedom healing does. So in Thrive, check it out. It's melanietoniaevans.com/thrive, and it's coming up real soon. And we have limited placements, and they are filling really quickly. But from day one of Thrive, you are going to get a massive shift out of pain and into freedom from day one. Day one. All right? So if you've had enough of the pain, if you've had enough of the struggle, if you've had enough of the lies, if you've had enough of the prison of the mind, come home. Come with me. Come and play with me in this life. Because it's the real one. So you'll also see in the comments, the links up there in the comments. Okay. And I can't wait. Because what is so beautiful about this community is we've got thousands of people already that have come and they're playing. And it's just such a better way to be. All right, everybody. I love you so much. Thanks for hanging out. I hope that explained to you the difference between the head and the beingness. I can't wait to hang with you and thrive and get this done, freeing you back to your true self. It's my most favorite work ever. Yeah, Yana, you're so sweet. Thank you. And you're also beautiful. Thank you for having this powerful conversation with me and for listening to all of it. You know, it takes courage to get past your head. It really does. You're warriors. It's why you're here. It's why you listen to this stuff. So now we just need to get on the battlefield and up and out of those trenches and win your victory. All right. I love you. I love you. Love you. Chloe, you're so welcome, sweetheart. Okay. And you guys, that's the other thing. Nia and Yana, you were saying it's time for us to connect. What happens in Thrive is so many beautiful friendships form, even people in their own areas and everything. You literally get to heal and thrive with your tribe. So many of my lifelong friendships have come through this work, and that's what awaits you guys too, your tribe. Okay, true relationships. All right, everybody. Oh, in my prayers, Ken, you're so sweet. My blessings to you too, Ken. Absolutely. Ken, have you come into a Thrive yet? Because we're getting more guys coming in. It's really amazing seeing more and more guys are actually coming into Thrive. Come into Thrive, Ken, if you haven't. Are you in this group now? I kind of remember some of our guys off YouTube coming in, but we love having the guys in there too. It's such a great perspective as well. Okay, so Ken, I really want you to come in if you can. I think it's your time. I think it's all of your time. All right, everybody, lots of love, and we'll talk again soon. Okay, and go to Thrive. Jump in before it fills. All right, love you. Talk soon. Bye-bye.